and welcome to Kings Point Spotlight. I'm Lieutenant Tyrone Broxton, and today I have the pleasure of being joined in a Dean and Barbara White Admission Center with 2010 graduate Alex Osigian. Alex, an international student from Panama, just graduated from the Academy this past June, where he earned his Bachelor's of Science degree in Marine Engineering Systems. Alex, thanks so much for joining us today here on Kings Point Spotlight.
Thank you very much for having me.
Now, as I always like to do, like to give my guests the opportunity to give a shout out back to their home and their high school, so let all the good people know where you're from.
I'm from Panama City, Panama, Central America, and I graduated from the Academia Internacional de Panama.
Okay. Now, being a native from Panama, how did you come to learn about the United States Merchant Marine Academy?
I had several friends that were pilots in the Panama Canal, and they had talked to me about the different academies in the U.S. Now, out of all the academies, Kings Point standing out as the best one of all, and they all talked to me about the government-to-government scholarship program that we have. So I applied here with the idea of being a decky originally, with the goal of being a Panama Canal pilot down the road. But as I came here, things changed, and now I graduated as a systems engineer.
Okay. Now, why did you decide to attend? You said why you were interested and why you applied, but what made you say, I want to come to Kings Point after you were accepted?
I gotta say, after hearing a lot of Kings Point and what most of the graduates were doing upon graduation, I figured it would be definitely the most and well-rounded education I could get in the field of the maritime world per se. So once I got the appointment, I was thrilled to come here, and I had no doubt this is what I wanted to do.
Being from Panama, obviously there's the Panama Canal, so there's a lot of maritime business going on a day-to-day basis, international commerce and trade. So was that one of the reasons as to what drove you to become interested, and are a lot of your countrymen as well involved in the maritime industry as a result of the canal?
Well, that is definitely a big aspect when you're considering what you want to do in life. You have this, which is a huge source of business, like you mentioned. So you know that one way or the other you're going to be related to it. So might as well go directly and specialize in the field, and that just makes it a lot easier. Once you come back, you have a huge horizon of opportunities and what you can do once you come back.
Okay. Now, generally, there are 7 to 10 international students every year that are accepted to the Merchant Marine Academy, and your class had a strong contingent of Panamanian international students who came here, and you all graduated together, which is phenomenal in itself. No one had any academic issues, and everybody graduated within the 4-year time frame. And you also had a sponsor family as well. So how did not only having your own fellow countrymen here and women here at the Academy help push you through, in addition to the assistance from your American sponsor family?
Correct. Well, during the freshman year, I gotta say the Panamanian bond couldn't get so tight, so to speak, because we're all separate in different companies. Indoctrination, we barely saw each other. But once all the freshman hassle was done, it's definitely a very strong bond. We would all study together, we'd help each other out with homeworks and stuff. About my sponsor family, I gotta say it's been a great blessing to have. It's one of the best programs, I gotta say, that the Academy has. They helped me out through my freshman year. I stayed in touch with them through all 4 years, and it's been like a family away from home for me. So it's definitely been a great blessing to have my sponsor family here.
Very good. Now, Marine Engineering Systems, arguably the toughest major here at the U.S. Merchant Marine Academy. I'm sure the folks on the deck side would like to beg to differ, but that's the major that you settled on. And initially you said that you were thinking about going deck, but you decided on Marine Engineering Systems. A lot of people that are interested in the Academy, potential prospects, they say the systems major sounds interesting, but I don't think a lot of folks know exactly what that major entails. So what are some of the nuances about that major, and what exactly is it? What is systems?
Well, systems engineering, like it says, it's basically everything you could put on a ship. You learn how to not only operate but also design. From scratch building a steam plant. From the very beginning, you get the horsepower and what you want to put out, and then you go the very basics. You go to the drawing board. You make it happen. So not only do you learn the operational part, but also the design part, and what does it entail to make a ship. And you take a little bit of naval architecture. You take systems design 2. Diesel engines. You take basically the whole scope of what an engineering is. So you take, they call it the jack of all trades. A little bit of electricity, refrigeration, design, materials. It's just as much as you can get in an engineering curriculum.
Okay. Now, one of the aspects of the curriculum that kind of takes you out of the classroom is the sea year, where you actually get a chance to work aboard commercial vessels. What were some of the vessels that you worked aboard, the types of jobs that you had to do aboard those vessels as an engineering systems major, and also some of the locations you went during the sea year?
Well, when I was at sea, I was in a total of 4 different ships, and I sailed all over the world. My very first ship, I had the opportunity to go to Dubai. I was there for 2 weeks, so I saw a lot of the country. I went to Karachi, Pakistan, India, and Oman. That was my very first ship. On board the ship, I did pretty much everything an engineer can do, starting as a cadet, between doing rounds in the engine room, welding out on deck, helping do the engine overhauls. Basically, everything the engineering crew on board the ship did, I tagged along with them, and I got to not only see, but actually do a lot of the things. My second ship was a container ship as well, and I got to go on what they call the Mediterranean run, which was 3 ports in Italy and 2 ports in Spain, and then back to the U.S. On my third ship, it was a liquefied natural gas, an LNG ship, and this was a little bit different because it was a foreign flag ship, and I was one of the first Kings Point cadets to be on this vessel, so it was a little bit different. The officers were mostly Greek, and the unlicensed crew was Filipino, so it was a complete different culture that I was coming into. But it was still a great experience. I got to go to the Far East. I went to Japan, Taiwan, Singapore, and I went all the way to West Africa. I also went to Egypt and then back to Singapore, so I got to see a lot of countries in that run as well. And then my very last ship was also a foreign flag ship. All the officers were Polish officers, so it was also another different culture that I got to see. And most of them was what they were all housepipers, meaning they didn't go to a maritime academy to become an engineer. They basically learned their trade as they went through it. They used to work in shipyards, and little by little they crossed over to working out at sea instead of at the dock. And I gotta say, these were by far probably the best engineers I've sailed with. They were not only very professional, but they've been doing this for the entire life, So it was a great experience. And in this run, I got to go. I sailed from New Jersey, and I went through the Panama Canal, which was a great experience for me. Being from Panama, my family was right there at the sightseeing area, and I could see them from the ship.
Nice.
And then we went to Japan, where we loaded up cars, and then back to Jacksonville again through the canal.
Mm-hmm.
So it was definitely a great experience going out to sea.
Now, how valuable is the sea year in general, being that you're in the classroom, you're in the laboratories, and so forth and so on while you're a student, but to be able to actually apply that knowledge to something real as working aboard a real live ship that's actually transporting cargo, liquid nitrogen gas, whatever it may be, how valuable is that experience as you start to prepare for your professional career?
It definitely enhances the whole Kings Point experience. I mean, you've been learning everything on books and in laboratories, like you said, but you've never actually done it per se, in the actual environment. You never got the real deal. And then after your freshman year, you go out to sea and you exactly get the real deal. So, I mean, it definitely tells you if you chose the right path, and I gotta say, in most of the cases, it lets you know you did. You get to do what you're going to be doing basically for the rest of your life, and you get to do it after only 1 year of college. So it's definitely, I would say, the best part of Kings Point.
Now, being an international student coming to America, I take it that was the first time?
Yes, correct.
Okay. And then going on various commercial ships, and when in some instances you were on foreign flag ships. How was your transition overall, as a Panamanian student, to dealing with those challenges of coming to a new country and then at the same time working on various ships that, of individuals on foreign flag?
Well, I gotta say, I've always liked traveling, so it was the first time that I came to the U.S. when I came to the academy. But I definitely like the different cultures. It's just the way I am. I like the challenge, the experience, and the thrill of going to a place where nobody speaks the same language you do, and you gotta be able to take on it by yourself and figure it out. It's like it gives it like a little twist to life. So it was definitely a great time that I had, and both coming here for the first time and going to all the different countries where I went. I mean, some of them spoke Spanish, some of them didn't. Some of them didn't speak English at all. So it was a challenge, but it was definitely fun.
Yeah. Now, speaking of some of the fun, New York City's around the corner here from the Academy. I know you have some great stories. What are some of the things that you did for fun in the city when you had liberty?
Well, during our freshman year, we have to go out in uniform all the time. So that that everybody looks at you on the street, and the people you just inspire respect from people. Everybody says thanks for serving. Although I was not part of the armed forces or anything, but it definitely you feel like you're walking tall when you walk with the uniform out in the city. And then of course, people look at you, they feel proud. You get into different places, you get all these courtesies when you go to museums and stuff. You don't have to pay, so it's definitely a great time you have out in the city. I mean, not to say of the nightlife, of course, it makes it a lot funner to go out in uniform than going out as a civilian.
Yes. Now, some of the other things that you were involved, you just weren't a bookworm. You were also involved in some activities, some clubs, some sports. What were some of the things that you were involved with here?
I was in the swim team for 2 of my 4 years here, and that was a great experience. It gives you something to do besides the books and the academics of school. And then I was also captain of the cycling team. I was in the cycling team for my last 2 years in the academy. And now being a varsity team for a club sport made it a little bit more relaxed. We didn't have to stick to a schedule. But then again, everybody put as much effort as all the other athletes in the varsity team. So it was a great time.
Okay. Now, you've been here for a couple of months. You've been waiting for some paperwork to get processed. It finally has. What paperwork have you been waiting on, and where will you be working very shortly?
Well, a week before graduation, I received and accepted an offer from Rolls-Royce in their commercial marine department. Now, being an international student here at the academy, I needed a work visa, not only that, but also a security clearance, because Rolls-Royce is a government contractor. So I applied for my post-completion OPT, which is a 1-year extension of my student visa to work in the U.S., and this usually takes a couple of months. On top of that, the security clearance took a little bit of time too, so I just received all my paperwork, and I'll be heading down to Galveston, Texas, where I'm going to be a service engineer for Rolls-Royce in their commercial marine department.
Okay, that's very good. Now, what are some of the things that you'll be doing for Rolls-Royce?
Rolls-Royce, they have basically everything you can put on a ship. They do from winches and windlasses out on the deck. They do gas engines, gas turbines, reduction gears, diesel engines, thrusters, ASI pods, steering gear, basically the whole line of commercial marine products. Everything you can possibly think of in the maritime industry, they do service and overhaul.
Okay, all right. Well, Alex Osigian, a pleasure as always. Thank you, my friend, for spending some time with us today, and best of luck in your new job.
Thank you very much.
All right, and that concludes this edition of Kings Point Spotlight. For all of us in admissions, I'm Lieutenant Tyrone Broxton. Until next time, act nonverbal and go Mariners.